Excellent. Progress. Right, so without further ado, very pleased to welcome back the magnificent Richard Kwietniowski, who you will, by the end of this hour, you will see why he's been invited back and why I think he's absolutely fantastic. So, Richard, over to you. Introduce the session, if you wouldn't mind, and just take it away.
Thank you. No pressure then. Goodness me. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Lovely to be here. As usual, what I'm going to try and do is look at a certain approach that directors use, particularly this one, maybe to something a little bit unobvious, and then try and open out how that affects what is being asked of the actors. And I've decided to concentrate today on the concept of the master shot, which was something I only became interested in after I'd started making films. But now, any scene I have to shoot, I start with a very, very simple basis, which is, do I have to do anything more than 3 camera setups? And the answer very often is, yes, I do. I do have to do more. Sometimes I'll be very daring and decide I'm only going to shoot it in 1, which is the master shot. But my starting point is, can I get away with a master shot and a shot reverse shot somewhere within that? And with the help of my booth and counter clip, I'll show exactly what I mean by that. To start off, there's a difference between the master shot and an establishing shot. An establishing shot is something very neutral, which basically says, look at the space we're in. Now let's get on with the drama. Sometimes the establishing shot is outside the building. I'm old enough to remember Dynasty, and every single scene began with a shot, and then even a little zoom in to Joan Collins's penthouse with her new boy Friday or what have you. And that's an establishing shot, you know. And once I was going around looking at locations with a location scout, and we were getting back in the car, and he said, "Oh, you haven't photographed the exterior." And I said, "No, I don't need the exterior." And he said, "Oh, well, what are you going to use for your establishing shot?" And I got very worried, thinking, oh, there's obviously a law that says when you start making feature films, you must use establishing shots, or you will never work in this town again. And I thought, screw it, and that kind of worried me. So, what's the difference between an establishing shot and a master shot? The master shot is a kind of objective version of the scene. So we're slightly outside the whole scene, but it should be dramatically effective. So here's my perfect example from possibly the greatest British film ever made, Brief Encounter, 1945.
Here, where's the fire? Where's the fire?
What's going on in here?
Mr. Godby, these gentlemen are annoying me.
What? We haven't done nothing, have we, Johnny?
All we did was ask a couple of drinks, that's all.
They insulted me, Mr. Godby.
We never did anything of the kind. Just having a little joke, that's all.
Op it, both of you.
We got a right to stay here as long as we like.
You heard what I said. Op it.
Now, look here, what is this, a free country or a blooming Sunday school?
I checked your warrants at the gate. Your train's due in 1 minute, number 2 platform. Op it.
Now, look here.
Ah, come on, Johnny, come on. Don't argue with the poor basket.
Op it.
Cheerio, Mother. And if them sandwiches were made this morning, you're Shirley Temple.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is the master shot, and it's carefully constructed so it works for all 5 characters, and there's a little bit of adjustment within it in that it tightens a little bit later. Here, just that nice little track in, which has been rehearsed just to contain their leaving. If there's a door in the background, I'm always thinking, okay, this will be good for my master shot because I can contain the arriving and leaving and use depth. And it's very effective, but it'd be a rather different scene if I just shot it from here. So what we've got in addition to the master shot is a shot reverse shot, which if this is an objective version of the scene, then suddenly the other 2 camera setups put us, the audience, very much inside the scene. So it makes it very evident that poor Myrtle here is very upset by this, and her knight in shining armor has come to kind of get rid of them. And I like the fact that it's a kind of clean single. There's no overlap of anybody's shoulder here, for example. And she's looking off screen left, and in the reverse shot, they're looking at her off screen right when they look at her. I think there he's looking at her right at the beginning. So it's called a shot reverse shot because the angling is vaguely the same. And between their look and her look, that's your line of action. And if you've heard of the 180-degree rule, what it means is you can have any camera position on sort of this 180-degree side of our line of action between them and her. And she will always be looking off screen left, and they will always be looking off screen right. So the audience then knows that where we are in the space, and that's a very important kind of guiding principle. And another interesting thing is when we come back to the master shot here, the frame is slightly different if you look at the edges compared to where we left it here. And this tells me that for part 2 of the scene, this is from a different take, probably. And usually that means, because there'll be slight variation in the frame. And what that means is this bit of this take was chosen because it was better for performance. And so by shooting coverage, by shooting with more than one camera setup, you can really cherry pick even the best lines from each member of the cast. If you shoot a scene just in a master shot, you kind of lose that. So that's the basic principle behind the master shot and the shot reverse shot. And I want you to think of it as the difference between maybe giving us a place, an objective place outside the scene, and then giving us a very subjective place inside the scene. So we're kind of connected. We're like a kind of junction between the shot and the reverse shot. Now, there are a number of different challenges that affect performance if you're going to shoot something just in the master shot, or as in my second clip here, 2 very kind of bravado master shots, one after the other. It's a very early scene from a film called Get Shorty.
Are you sure it was Ray Bones that took the coat?
That's what the man said.
Hey, tomorrow I see on the TV weather it's gonna be nice and warm. You don't need the coat.
This is it.
Hey, Chili, get the coat, but just don't piss the guy off, okay? And we're gonna have to call Momo and straighten the whole thing out. And Momo's gonna be pissed off for wasting his time, but we don't need that, huh?
Don't worry, man. I'm not gonna say any more than I have to, if that.
Okay, so the first of these shots, very difficult indeed, technically, and there's an awful lot of choreography. Firstly, because the actor has to work very much, do a kind of dance in a way with the camera, because he has to stay in frame right the way through. And this is all very carefully coordinated. There's a kind of joke here that this is Miami, but it's actually very chilly. So everybody's kind of wearing fur coats and stuff. And all these passers-by obviously are extras that have been placed and timed, and all this has to be done kind of perfectly. But right the way through, the actor still has to maintain a sense of character and purpose and intention, despite, God knows how many takes this took. One thing I also really respect is they didn't try and do too much with this shot. They let, the camera does stop and it lets him leave. And a lesser director would have said, I want it to go right the way up to the blue Art Deco door. It's got to be, and they would still have been filming at midnight trying to get it, And then there's this very delicious. So it's almost like, we've got this kind of extraordinary mobility for the start of the scene, which is very exciting, especially early on in the film. And then all the camera does is hang about, handheld, bang. And who wouldn't want to see the rest of the film? Another slight challenge. I mean, obviously there's a kind of how did they do this? The moment when he gets out of the car.
Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna say any more than I have to, if that.
And that's slightly mind-boggling because the camera is free to follow him here, but the camera is definitely traveling with the car. And something tells me that the dialogue here has been re-recorded in post-production. It just doesn't quite sound right for the interior of a car, and the guy who's driving, his first lines are not quite in sync.
Are you sure it was Ray Bones that took the coat?
That's
That's what
close.
said.
But I think the reason why the sound was entirely re-recorded is because how do they do this? How do they manage this? I think there is in fact no door. So I think what he's pushing away is whatever the device was that was used, the grip equipment to put the camera on the side of the car. And then the sound effect, we hear the door shut behind him. So we absolutely believe that there is a door, but I think that's how it's done.
Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna say any more than I have to, if that.
Did anybody see any door? I just see the door frame. So it's very, very clever. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is, this is an additional impediment for the actor because, I don't really relish doing kind of trick stuff, but if I've got a very complicated tracking shot, for example, I always warn the cast, it's going to take a lot of fiddling and a few goes, I'm afraid, so I'm sort of sending the message to be patient, and maybe this happens rarely, but I'm sort of slightly suggesting what the camera is doing is very temporarily more important than performance, but it's worth it. It's going to be worth it, and you have to be aware of what they need from you. So let's look at another example. This is completely different, but again, it in a way very much limits the possibilities for the cast. It's again very much about choreography, as you'll see. This is from Sofia Coppola's film, The Bling Ring, which is basically about a group of young people who break into the homes of celebrities, more or less just to see what designer labels they're wearing. And in the middle of the film, this happens. Oh, I'm not screen sharing. Here we go. I find that totally hypnotic, and it's very, very carefully staged to kind of get the most of where they are together and then in separate rooms. And as you can see here, the camera is zooming in. It's not a track, it's a zoom, which is a kind of optical thing. I think partly to make us feel we're almost watching this through a surveillance camera, but also just to kind of draw us in. And it's very much about kind of timing and coordination and not a lot of performance. But the point to take from this is that the lens is sometimes like a kind of keyhole, a very kind of small but precise object to which everything has to be organized. So when I started making films, I was very kind of beguiled by the control over time and space that I had. And it was very much about the edit and how I could organize material, especially in relation to the emotional input, you know, what mattered at any point in any scene. But the more I did, the more I came to really like a rather different approach to filmmaking, which is about what I can contain organically, if you like, within a developing frame. And I think this is the key principle of the master shot. And what you're saying to the cast is, you know, I need a version of the scene where you are interacting within a space. And so I'm inviting you to be spontaneous and interactive. And we'll do all the more precise stuff in the tighter shots. So I'm always looking for a master shot that is a little bit more engaged than just something rather neutral. And my least favorite master shot is usually two profiles of two people looking at each other, because if I shot that, I couldn't wait to cut to better angles where we actually can see their faces. So I'm more likely to maybe do a master shot with one actor with their back to the camera, because I just think that's more interesting and more useful. Master shots are shot first. The reason for this is they're usually the widest shot that you're filming, and it's the biggest lighting setup. So for instance, the brief encounter master shot would definitely have been shot first. Then they would have done the medium shot of the soldiers and Stanley Holloway. Then they would have had a nice lunch and swung round and relit, and they would have done the Joyce Carey single close-up last. And often I just shoot one take of the master shot, especially if it's just for somebody arriving and somebody leaving. And sometimes my actors rush up to me and go, "Oh my goodness, are you sure? Can't we have another go? We can get it a lot better than that." And I'm inclined to say slightly scary things like, "I know, but trust me, I have everything I need for the master shot. I could keep running it, but you know what? I need you to be at your best in about 3 hours when I'm this tight on you. So please trust me, because I do not want to exhaust you on the master shot." And then we move on, you know. But there are certain types of cinema which foreground the single take shot, where you only have a master shot, and others that have a preference really for master shots. And I want to show you something from a 1940s film by George Cukor, who was an A-list Hollywood studio director. And he was a great actor's director because he was very happy to shoot entire scenes with no close-ups and just kind of let a very kind of frontal, almost theatrical style of cinema have priority. And I only really learned to appreciate how good this is as cinema, I think, when I started to appreciate this approach to the master shot, where you're foregrounding organics and, you know, what is interacting within the frame. So Adam's Rib stars Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, and they are a married couple. They're both lawyers, and here they are welcoming their guests to a dinner party. And the audience knows something Spencer Tracy doesn't know yet, which is he's about to prosecute a woman accused of trying to kill her husband. What he doesn't know is that his wife, Catherine Hepburn, has just agreed to defend that woman. So they're going to be at odds in the court.
They'll be right down, Mrs. Bonner.
How are you, Mary?
Hello, everybody.
Well, hello, honey.
It's just us, Madam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, son, how are you?
Dan? Hi.
Good, fine.
Hello, Adam.
Hello, dear.
Adam, go ahead. Mix the drink.
Mix the drinks. Come on.
I'm sorry we're so late, but I'm not to blame. I have an irresponsible husband.
Hereditary.
We're going to have the most sensational dinner, I
I'll
hope.
bet.
Oh, my dress. Do it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot my glasses.
You did? Oh, well, Adam! Hey, come on in here and fasten me up, will you? Sit down.
Thanks.
darling.
Oh, here, Pop.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Mix them. Don't drink it now. I suppose someday somebody will invent something.
You've got no
Just
complaint.
pull...
Yeah, well,
You ought to see some of the things that I used to have to handle. Hooks and eyes, begad. She had an evening gown one time, had about 2,000.
Don't exaggerate.
Oh, all right, then 1,000. Used to start to hooking her up sometimes right after breakfast.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mary. Anybody else important here yet? Well, look at us. All the way from across the hall and right on time. Don't we look nice?
You certainly do.
You know Emerald Messel, don't
Hello,
you?
Emerald. How are
Mrs.
you?
Bonner. Hello, Mr. Bonner.
You know Adam's father and mother? Emerald Messel.
She's just been proposing to me. That's why we're on time.
Ha, ha.
No humor, but stinking rich.
Emerald, what do you want to drink?
Oh, whatever's going.
Dad, would you be an angel?
You bet.
Thank you.
Need some help, old friend?
No, thanks.
Well, why not? She may be your wife, but she's my lawyer. Amanda, my love, why do you stay married to a legal beagle with 10 thumbs?
All right, Kit. That's enough.
Not for me, it's not.
Why don't you go play the piano?
All right, I suppose that is why I was invited.
That's right, that's right.
Somebody ought to bring me a drink. I choose Amanda. Are you the judges? Somebody said judges were coming.
Hello, darling.
You always have judges here. Why is that? To get in good with them?
Well, you made it. Oh, very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison.
How very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison. How very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison. The judge is standing by, but I really don't know why. Very nice to see you.
What were you doing down in my bailiwick today?
Oh, just a little ambulance chasing.
Successful?
Well, I got the case.
What case?
A girl named Doris Attinger shot her husband. I'm going to defend her.
Dinner is served, madam.
Oh, well, let's go on in, everyone. That was nothing.
Well,
All right, darling.
So, beautiful
how are
choreography.
you, Hello, everybody.
Well, hello.
I mean, there's a real kind of efficiency to getting such a large number of people through that space. And the apparatus, the camera, appears to be very neutral, you know, almost like it's doing nothing, almost like there are no edits in it. In actual fact, the camera is doing a lot, but always secondary to performances. And the overall kind of movement throughout this sequence is, you know, from left to right, basically from the stairs and the front door to get people across into this space. And there's nothing random about it. So where the camera stops, this is very good in terms of framing, because this woman is used like a sort of doorstop here in the corner. And this just gives us a sense of depth between her and them. These open doors in the back, fantastic opportunity for kind of cross-town traffic that we'll see in a minute. And then when Kit arrives with his friend, it's the same movement. And again, one reason why all this work from the camera is fairly invisible is because it's accompanying the actors. It's not dictating to the actors, it's containing the actors. It's motivated, if you like, by their movement. And again, oh, what a surprise. Our doorstop comes into play again for where it ends. And then there's a move in. So we have here, this is a 6 shot.
She's just been proposing to me. That's why we're on time.
Ha, ha.
No humor, but stinking rich.
Now it's a 5 shot.
Emerald, what do you want to drink?
Oh, whatever's going.
Dad, would you be an angel?
You bet.
Thank you.
Need some help?
Now it's a 4
No,
shot.
thanks.
Well, why not? She may be your wife, but she's my lawyer.
Cut to a 3 shot.
Why do you stay married to a legal beagle with 10 thumbs?
All right, Kit. That's enough.
Not for me, it's not.
2-shot,
Why don't you go play the piano?
All right, I suppose that is why I was invited. That's right, that's right.
cut to, single. So it's being organized incredibly effectively, but in a way that prioritizes what the actors are doing. And it's breathtakingly good. Watch the cued movements in the background at this point.
Be a drink. I choose Amanda.
And then that leads to this elegant camera move for the judges.
The judges? Somebody said judges were coming.
Oh. Hello, Donnie.
You always have judges here. Why is that? To get in good with them?
Well, you mean it. How very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison.
How very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison.
Now, I'm 99% convinced that was not in the script. And I'm 99% convinced the director didn't say, hey, I've had a great idea. When you start playing, why don't you sing Spencer Tracy's line? I think it was just something the actor did as a joke between takes or when they did the technical rehearsal. Because when you have so many actors together, you're going to get a certain kind of energy. And they're very buzzy, but the energy is also very good for the director because they're still thinking about the scene and they're interacting and they want to wring out as much as they can. So I think it was probably done to amuse the other actors. And then Kukor, a brilliant director, said, okay, do that in the take. And it gets this lovely little additional, this little look back from Spencer Tracy. And it's just a huge cherry on the top of a very good cake. And for the final scene in the second room, this is a George Cukor film. Can he do it in one camera setup? Of course.
Very nice to see you, Mrs. Markison. The judge is standing by, but I really don't know why.
Very nice to see you.
What were you doing down in my bailiwick today?
Oh, just a little ambulance chasing.
Successful?
Well, I got the case.
What case?
A girl named Doris Attinger shot her husband.
And it might have been Spencer Tracy's decision to make sure his back was turned to the camera for this moment, knowing an experienced screen actor knows there's a very good place and time to turn your back to the camera because you control when you're going to reveal your reaction. Unfortunately, it generates very bad tray acting.
I'm going to defend her.
But then something absolutely sublime happens, which is totally unexpected.
Dinner is served, madam.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness. And this to me is sublime. And if I ever came up with an idea like this, and I think I would die happy immediately because this is just such an inventive and delightful full use of the potential of the space. So you've got those double doors there. And the scene is over in a way. She's finally told him they're going to be at war in court. Great, end of Act 1. Just again, another huge cherry on the top of the cake. The doors open, the maid, totally unaware of what's happened, dinner is served. And this would not happen in modern cinema. The focus puller doesn't move a muscle. And I'm absolutely certain if this was a contemporary film, well, you'd be fired for only shooting it in one camera setup, probably, and not doing close-ups of the stars all the time, blah, blah, blah. But they would insist on pulling focus to the person who was speaking. So there's such kind of belief in the decision to include this, that it's marked by restraint. And I think when I started making films, I would not have seen so much in a sequence like this. And there's something else from the same film I absolutely have to show you, because this, I show some of the students who are like, because there is no law that says a master shot has to include everything all the time. But take it from me, to try and persuade a film student to have one of their characters leave the master shot, I mean, all the tea in China wouldn't work, I'm telling you. Have a look at this. This is slightly earlier on. They're dressing for dinner upstairs.
You are hurrying up, aren't you, darling? Oh, what is Judge Markison's wife's name? Do you remember? Oh, I do, Alice. I hope Kip knows enough to behave when the judge is around. I'll keep him playing the piano as much as possible.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
You make a lot of money?
Nope. Better than money.
Really? What?
A very interesting development. Very.
Good.
I hope you'll think so when you find out what it is. It may jar you a bit at first, but Pinky.
Calling me?
What's that?
Just the best hat in the world? For the best head?
I may ask you to come home late every single night. Oh. Hey, someday they're going to build a statue to you somewhere.
Huh?
I say,
Oh.
well, now, what about that?
That's sweet.
Isn't that absolutely
Yeah, you look
American?
kind of like Grandma Moses.
Oh, I'm a lucky girl. Yeah? Your mother and father are here.
Oh. All right, I'm going to be right down.
Tell them to fix themselves a drink.
What?
A drink.
No, thanks.
What?
I said I don't want one, thanks.
Oh.
So how radical is this empty space in a mainstream film? And this is very daring, but again, it kind of flatters the audience, you know, that we're in on the joke and they're two separate spaces, etc. And this is my guess as to how it happened, that the director said, okay, here's the idea for the block. I'm only going to shoot it from here, kind of frontal, almost like a theater stage. I want you to bring out the hat and put it on the chair here and be really proud of the amazing surprise you're about to give her. And then you're both going to do it mainly from your separate dressing rooms. Let's go. You know, I really think that was, you know, and then it was up to the actors to go, okay, and obviously I have to work certain things out, such as...
Very interesting development. Very.
Good.
I hope you'll think so when you find out what it is. Major.
So, for example, Katharine Hepburn has to decide, how is my character going to notice the hat? And she could just see it from her dressing room. But wouldn't it be better if I have a reason to come across the space and then I only notice it when I'm going back? And so obviously her earrings are kept here, how convenient. So she has to cross the space and then she goes back.
You a bit at first, but Pinky.
Calling me?
What's that?
Just the best hat in the world? For the best head?
And again, I'm 100% certain that was not a director idea. Can you put your head back out to say for the best head? It was just something that happened. And, you know, what we rely on all the time is for the actors to give us more, you know, more than what's in the script, more than how I'm imagining the scene, and to keep interacting, you know, to keep sort of playing, keeping sort of texture in there. And then this is, again, a kind of wink towards to the audience. Obviously, you could show a kiss, of course, in 40s cinema, but there's something quite witty about allowing the kiss to happen out of frame.
I may ask you to come home late every single night. Oh.
But there's another joke. Watch her left shoulder when she comes back out. Tamsin's already nodding.
Hey, someday they're going to build a statue to you somewhere.
Now, the censor didn't notice that, so they got away with it. But clearly he went for a bit more than a kiss, and she had to kind of slap him down. So the fact that she'd still not got her dress done up entirely when they're downstairs, that's kind of significant. And again, if there's a mirror here, of course she should try on the hat, and then that means you've got this very kind of charming interaction. He knows he's kind of facing the camera, so we're getting a good look at him looking at her. And, you know, they're totally happy and complete as a couple, and all that's about to change because of what's going to happen in the trial. If the mirror was over here somewhere, you wouldn't get something as kind of intimate as that, as effective as that, even though it's a kind of wide shot, and et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is, you know, there are certain limits always, but there's also a large amount of freedom, because if the scene is only being shot like this, you can do rather different stuff in every single take. You know, and there's no continuity issues. I mean, you still have to make sure you're in focus and lit, you know. And there seems to me to be quite freeing in a way. And sometimes I've always got the same reaction when I've said to my actors, let's just shoot this in the master shot. Now, to be honest, sometimes I've said that with a sinking heart, because I've realized I have not enough time left to shoot this scene the way I intended to. And so rather than, you know, trying to rush everything and ending up with nothing, I'll look terribly positive and confident and say to my cast, okay, I have a challenge for you. How about this? I really think we should just get this scene in the master shot. And always I've had the same reaction from the actors. Oh, great. And one day I took John Hurt to one side and said, I just don't get it. I mean, why are you people always so happy when I say we're only going to do the master shot? Don't you believe that I can add so much more if I shoot you also in close-up? I will have different takes. I can nick bits from different takes. I can change the speed if I want to. Why do you just say, great, you know, are you just really nice people? And slightly seriously, he said, it's because you can't cut out any of the acting. And I sort of understand that, you know, because again, it's about the organic connection that you are creating live, that I'm recording. And of course, it's very high risk because it's all or nothing, you know. But there are certain types of cinema that are very famous for it. For instance, a lot of films from Iran or Romania, and a lot of these films want to keep the audience in a more detached place. You know, that it's narrative cinema, but maybe the implications of the drama are more important than emotional attachment to the characters, or maybe there's some political or cultural statement, or even philosophical or poetic statement the filmmaker wants to make, you know. Let me show you more empty space in a much more contemporary film. This is from Magnolia, and a cop has been called because someone has been playing music way too loud.
So you got some coffee brewing here?
Yeah, it's not, it's been on for a bit.
Yeah, I like iced coffee generally. But a day like today, you know, with the rain and whatnot, I enjoy a warm cup.
Do you want to come?
Is that all right? Just raining cats and dogs out there. I'd just as soon not go back in it.
I don't know how fresh it's gonna be.
Oh, I'm sure it's fine, Claudia.
Do you take cream or sugar?
That'd be fine. So Claudia, let me just say, so I can get my role as an LAPD officer out of the way here, so before we enjoy our coffee. I don't like to talk shop over coffee. I'm not going to write you up. I'm not going to give you a citation here. But the real problem we have here is that you got people around you, people who work from home, you know, trying to get some work done. And if you're listening to your music that loud, they're inconvenienced by that. And you know, now if you had a job, you'd probably understand, but you like listening to your music, and that's fine. That's fine. You're just gonna want to keep an eye on the volume level. You know, maybe memorize what number you see on the dial. If it's the middle of the day, that's what I do. I just set it at 2.5, and then I know that's a good listening level for me. But you like listening to your music loud. And that's fine. That's cool. It's good to rock out sometimes. But you can't do it every day, you know, or else you risk damaging your ears. Seriously.
Yeah.
You listen to it all the time like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna drive these people crazy. Anyway, you get the point.
Yes.
Okay. Cheers. So this boyfriend bothering you?
I don't have a boyfriend.
All right, well, the gentleman who's
He's
at
not
the
my
door.
boyfriend.
A lot of times, in a domestic abuse situation, the young woman is afraid to speak out. You don't have to be afraid to tell me anything, all right? And as a police officer, I can tell you, it goes bad places. The young woman's afraid to speak out. Next thing you know, I'm here on a 187.
It's not. What's a 187?
It's not good. And it's where situations like this always
It's not my
lead.
boyfriend, and it's not anything. It's over, really. It's not. He won't come back.
I don't want to have to come back here
You won't
in an
have to.
hour. I wouldn't mind coming back. You know, get a look at your pretty face again.
I'll be right back.
Oh, goodness, how wonderful that is. So this is a Paul Thomas Anderson film, and he's not afraid of making films well over 3 hours and taking his time. And my guess is that it was always his plan just to shoot part one from the window in one setup. But it's very kind of cleverly organized in the sense that this makes all the difference to me. The coffee machine is here, which means we get a lot of access to both their faces. And she has a kind of triangle to run around in that she has to get stuff from here. She has to get stuff from the fridge. She takes stuff in and out of the other room. And I think this is location, not studio. And I think it was chosen because it's actually quite a tight space. And again, I think the director input to the block would be, okay, well, your coffee machine's here. You're getting the mugs and stuff from here. You have to get the cream from the fridge. Let's block it. Let's give it a go. And so deliberately, it means that he's sort of in the way, but she can't, she has to kind of be polite and survive this incident. And also, I think what would have been suggested was that you take plenty of stuff in different journeys into the second space, and then it gives him the option to follow her or not. And what makes it so good is, this is very good writing, in my opinion, but also it's so obvious that these two characters are playing completely different motivations, in that basically she just wants to get rid of him without being charged or him discovering her stash of cocaine or anything like that. What does he want? He wants to stick around. He really wants to get a look at her pretty face for, in a semi-permanent way, perhaps. And so the simplicity of how this sequence is shot is really kind of fantastic in terms of this sort of odd couple dynamic developing. And again, I think it gives the cast great freedom because they can decide how to negotiate each other in this small space. I did wonder, again, you know, it's an all or nothing, so all of one take is chosen and not bits of any other take because there are no cutaways or close-ups. And I did wonder, there's a moment when they're both in the other room, I can't remember which one, maybe I think it's that one, where John C. Reilly has one of his best lines, which is, "It's good to rock out sometimes." And I did wonder when he saw the finished film, whether he slightly regretted that the take that was chosen didn't have him on camera when he kind of said that line, but you know, who knows? And then in part two, of course, it's just one shot. It's just one camera setup. It's kind of nice that we can see the rain here and the window where the camera was for part one. And there's a slow track in just to sort of make it a little bit more interesting. And this is exactly the sort of master shot I would try and avoid. It's the dreaded double profile. And there are all sorts of issues with it, like if there's if there is a big difference in heights, that's very apparent, which is extremely apparent here. And I can't really get access to their faces. And my instinct would be to try and avoid it unless I'm about to shoot a scene where two people are going to try and shoot each other, like in a Western, or if there are two characters maybe about to kiss. And maybe that was one reason for the director's decision to shoot it in this way, because the track in is suggesting, is it going to happen? Are they going to actually get closer? Is what he wants? Is she going to? No, surely she's not. And then she kind of breaks it. And then there's this delicious little button at the end of it. The coffee is so terrible. And he takes us back to the sink. Perfect circularity to get rid of it. But let's look at the moment when he has to tell us how bad the coffee actually is.
Yeah.
You're gonna drive these people crazy. Anyway, you get the point. Yes. Okay. Cheers.
Now, he's good enough to make that work, but that's an enormous gesture, almost like he's looking for a potted plant that he can try and shove the coffee down. Now, if there was coverage, if there were other camera setups being used, almost certainly there would be a camera here behind her shoulder, looking up at his face. And as I'm sure every single one of you knows, you could so subtly suggest that the coffee is bad, even by looking down at it when you take that first sip, or an eyebrow being raised. I'm not an actor, I'm not going to demonstrate, but you get my point, because the camera's basically here. So therefore you would completely modify how you show the audience how bad that coffee is. But what he has to do is something massive and play it in the direction of the camera. But it's kind of part of the awkward charm of the whole scene. So, you know, and he does it very well. Also, it's a minor point, but, you know, and this would have been a director decision. I think it's important that she doesn't go back to the kitchen, that she sort of goes somewhere else and, you know, I don't know, sits on the loo and goes, why won't he leave? But by crossing the frame, it just gives us more. Whereas if she just sort of exited stage left like that, she's kind of gone and he's still in profile. But if she leaves by crossing the frame, we are very much focused on his reaction. And so it's like, you know, it means somebody hasn't just left, but they've left, and let's have a look at how the other character is reacting to their leaving. Another thing that you may have encountered is when you're sort of building a sort of more or less descriptive sequence, the director may decide to shoot it in really a series of master shots, in that there's no coverage. So it's a kind of constant all or nothing. And this often kind of involves quite interesting decisions in terms of the apparatus doing something slightly separate to the character, maybe to open up a space and show where we're in, but still with the main character as the point of focus. And here's a little sequence from the film I made about a compulsive gambler. And here he is. This is the first time we go to a casino with him. And this is like 1 minute with like something like 4 or 5 different master shots. The very first shot was my first experience ever with Steadicam.
Just wait here a moment, please. Hold on, folks. Just for a moment.
Mr. Ed, an honor as always. Honor and a pleasure.
$15,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
105.
Hi.
Here you go, shooter. Here we go. Yo, 11. Frontline winner. Stay the line. Frontline winner. Here we go.
And, you know, filming a sequence like this is quite exciting, but it's got to, you know, like beads on a necklace or something, they've got to kind of connect as a sequence, but I'm asking something slightly different all the time from, in particular, this actor. Like always, the plan was to, in a way, keep him in the background. And so he is actually held back because the high roller is arriving. And more or less an hour later in the film, I exactly duplicate these shots, but now he is the high roller because he's playing with so much money. Even though he hated being watched, he cannot avoid but be given security, etc. And so there was something quite exciting about, you know, staging this with these extras and keeping my lead actor kind of in the background. I was told this was very difficult for the Steadicam operator because I was asking him to walk backwards up a flight of stairs, or do the whole thing walking backwards and then also go up a flight of stairs. And I assumed, you know, Steadicam operators could basically fly, and this was also Steadicam. And what I really like about it is the whole, you know, traffic of other people around, and it's all very carefully rehearsed. Like the high five at the end in the background was also planned. But there's a certain kind of fluidity that can build up, and it's as if, you know, you're still focusing on the character who matters, but you're giving the audience a lot of information about the environment at the same time. And I think with this shot, I think Phil, the actor, said, "Which way do you want me to go?" And I said, "Anywhere where you think the action is hottest." You know, so we didn't actually know whether he was going to go left or right, but I knew the camera could kind of contain him. And this is an important moment for this character, okay, because here she is, office party or something like that. She's the life and soul of the party, having a great time. We see her about 10 minutes later in the film, and it's the next morning, and everything has changed, and she's now desperate for any kind of money to continue to play. And to the surprise of the lead actor, I decided to shoot it in this single camera setup.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
You still here? That was a really great run we had going there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Say, stake me 200 and I'll share my winnings with you. What do you say?
No, thank you.
Okay, 100. 100.
And this was quite daring in a way, because I didn't want it neutral. I didn't want it with both the characters in profile, and I decided I wanted to focus on her to suggest that he can't wait to get away from her because he's actually looking at his mirror image. She's desperate to have money just to keep playing, and so this is a nightmare to him. And when I announced I was just going to do it in a master shot and a very selective master shot, mainly with Phil's back, and he said, but there's a hell of a lot going on in this scene here, man, indicating his face. And I very cheekily patted his shoulder and said, could a lot be going on here as well? And which he thought was quite funny, but he was still a bit pissed off. And so I did something quite reckless in a way, which was I said, okay, I don't want to block it conventionally, so I don't want to give you marks you have to hit a certain point. I don't want you to know what each other is going to do. So you have complete freedom to do something different in every single take. So what I did was put camera tape in a kind of oblong around them. And then I stood in each corner for the focus puller and the camera operator, who were in a cold sweat about what I was going to do. And so they were reacting live to the liveness of what the actors were doing. Then my next problem was she was scared shitless, poor thing. And this was a very difficult part for me to cast because I needed her ultimately to show her that desperation, but I also needed to find the party girl first. And she couldn't even see where the camera was. It was so far away on this massive long lens. And I had all this cross-town traffic between us and them, and I had the same in the background. But you know what? I'm as pleased with this tiny fragment as any other part of the film.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
You still here? That was a really great run we had going there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Say, stake me 200 and I'll share my winnings with you. What do you say?
No, thank you.
Okay, 100. 100.
And that's where we see the desperation. And she can't show him that desperation before because he would have run away immediately. And I got really lucky that the security guard was circling her at exactly the right time, and again, it's kind of spontaneous, it's organic, it's about lots of things happening all at once. And to finish, I want to just show a couple of very short things, which are single camera scenes from stuff. Firstly, Jacques Tati was, who you may know as Monsieur Hulot, was also a great director who loved a detached camera and everything kind of happening organically contained. Here's a tiny little moment from Jeu de Fête. He's the local postman and he's delivering his round, and everybody's busy preparing for the fête, the fair, the festival that the village is going to have that evening.
It's not, screen's not shared, Richard. But you look great.
I was just so I was so excited about sharing this. Thank goodness you're here. Here we go again.
Vision Emil. Alors, on se prépare, c'est la fête. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, and that to me is great cinema, in that it's so simple. Like, he arrives, makes a certain assumption, and all in the same shot. The camera movement is motivated by his movement. He politely shuts the door after him. The poor man is about to bury his father. Just sublime. And finally, acting with your back to the camera, I've said it's a good idea. I had a friend who lived in Denville Hall who was an actor, and he died just a couple of years ago, and he was in his 90s. And he told me about an actor who was very big on the London stage called Alfred Lunt, who was famous for turning his back on the audience at a key moment. And I discovered he and his wife did go to Hollywood in the 30s, and they made a few films there. And I've traced some of these films, but there's nothing, and he was not allowed to turn his back on the movie camera, you know, but I still want to learn more about Alfred Lunt. Anyway, here is a sublime example of acting with your back to the camera. Charlie Chaplin is an alcoholic, and here he is coming home in the morning to find his wife had said, "I've had enough, I'm leaving." And I'm not screen sharing.
You're not screen sharing.
Yeah. What can I say? What can I say? I'm more of a Buster Keaton fan, but I can't find the words to describe how good that is, and its apparent simplicity. So, to sum up, you know, there is, you know, especially in the master shot, there is a lot of kind of organic potential for you to do something with the scene in a way that's interactive, and then in a way create your own personal version of the scene when you're facing the camera. It's sort of that's now inside the scene. So it's almost like, you know, the master shot is a sort of public version of the scene. Then you're going to show the audience your private version of the scene when you are by yourself facing the camera. And, you know, so almost like that's prompting an audience to think, oh, that's how she's really feeling. You know, so in a weird way, it requires slightly different approaches to master shot, and then those much more internal subjective shots. And that's it, I guess.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Interesting.
Yeah, oh, God. I mean, whether you like it or not, you're coming back to do another one. And I'm just thinking that I'd love to get you in to do a day course or something. You know, we'll talk about it, but you know, if you've got time, obviously. Fantastic, Richard. Really inspirational. You know.
Does it make sense?
Oh God, yes, man. It just expands. Personally, to speak for myself, expands my view of the absolute craft of what we are involved in. That how it really helps me as an actor to know what a director is looking at, and being able to trust that if you're working with a good director who's planned and prepared, that you can actually get out of the way and just join in, as opposed to, you know, maybe being in conflict or whatever else. So really, what an excellent hour. And you know, I don't need to read any of the chat stuff to know that everybody agrees. So thank you.
Here's a little thing that might help. If you think about film as being about what you can achieve with editing, it's very much those are the kind of theories that Sergei Eisenstein, the Soviet filmmaker, said. You know, it's a montage of attractions, and he used editing in a way that could also include metaphor, like the intercutting the proletariat rising up with three statues: a sleeping lion, a lion sitting up, and then a lion roaring. You know. So that's one approach to what filmmaking is. Then in the 50s, there's this French writer called André Bazin, who wrote 2 very big volumes called What is Cinema? And he had a totally different approach, to a more kind of photographic approach to cinema. And he said it's all about what's contained in the image. Forget all this flashy stuff with editing. So if you have to shoot a scene where a toddler has got lost in the jungle and a lion is approaching, Eisenstein would do it parallel montage, you know, baby lion, oh no, you know, no baby any longer, end of scene. Bazin would want you to film it, fixed camera, here's the baby, totally unaware, lion is approaching in the background in the same space. So it's got a certain kind of photographic realism to it, as if this is really happening. And in a way, CGI is therefore very, André Bazin. It's about, you know, fake backgrounds and how much you can add in a way to what's within the frame. But it seems to me what's very important is not to sort of say, well, am I a Bazin or an Eisenstein? But, you know, to be greedy and say, my God, they interact so well. And if it was good enough for David Lean in Brief Encounter, why can't I try and maximize what I'm getting from my cast in both the organic combination approach and then the much more private single version of the scene somehow inside it.
Oh, lovely. Fantastic.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just aware of time, Richard. So I want to spend a moment just to give people a chance to introduce themselves to you. And I know that Richard is a course leader at
I'm not a course leader. I'm not a course leader.
He's something to do with the faculty at London Film School.
I co-supervise all the graduation films with great joy, but the place in other ways totally gets me down. But I'm not head of anything. I'm not leader of anything.
Okay, Richard's courses use actors to help the directors learn their craft, and I've personally over the years found them really useful for myself. Not only the fact that you get paid a little money and sometimes get a nice lunch from Richard because he feels guilty about how little money there is, but also it gives you a chance to work quite a lot during the day. So I don't know, should they send pictures and CVs if anyone's interested to the school?
No, send them to me, please.
Okay.
Obviously, we're not able to do such things right now, but we're hoping we will soon be able to do them again. And what we do is a lot of sort of preparatory sessions that we need actors for, where, you know, if any of my students write a scene from what they want to develop as their graduation film, I will find 2 actors and we'll bring them in for half a day and they will workshop the scene and take it to camera and just see how far they get. And this is really great because you're kind of involved at a very early stage, you know. So if there's too much dialogue, it's great for the director to kind of hear that and just to kind of get a feel for what you make of the situation and the character and all that. And, you know, I find them very interesting and constructive, and the filmmakers kind of love it.
And from speaking on behalf of the actors who I've worked with as well doing it, we love it as well. Really very useful. So how would they get, where should they send their stuff to?
Well, if I give people my school email, what we do is we, oh no, it's in the wrong, goodness, I've had a long day. Hold on, I need to put it in chat, don't I? Here we go. What we do is, you know, we maintain a database of actors who are interested, and then depending on, you know, the scene, then we look at, you know, who would fit, and we try and actually kind of cast it as close as possible to what we think the filmmaker would do, even if they're going to be shooting it in Taiwan or something, you know.
Okay, so I'm just going to go around the thing just very briefly because of time. Just give your name and I suppose one interesting thing about yourself in a nutshell. Why not? So I'll start with whoever's looking at Tamsin. You're in my top left corner. So so if you just say your name and actually, where are you at the moment?
My name's Tamsin Griffin. Yes, I am in Austria at the moment, and I am back in London on that Sunday.
So she's going to be back in London for the start of her new TV series, Trigger Points, with Vicky McClure, where she plays Vicky McClure's mum. She's not in the first episode, but she's in a load of others. So look out for Tamsin, and big hooray for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to, just because purely geographically, I'm going to come to Kudra next. Kudra, where are you?
Hi, I'm Kudra Owens. I'm also in Austria. That's funny, Tasman. And I might have seen you in Shockhead Peter like many, many years ago. Anyway,
oh, you did?
Yes, I'm an American actress, and by way of love, I ended up staying in Vienna for the past 20 years, since 2000. And I've just joined the ACI acting classes 2 weeks ago, and it was such a wonderful presentation. My grandfather was a film editor, so I spent my life listening to him pick apart movies, and I love movies, and it was so wonderful. I'm going to look at master shots in a whole different way now, and the knowledge as well.
Really?
And I'll be in London someday.
Good. Hurry up. Julie, you're muted. It's that famous Zoom thing. You're muted.
Hi. Hello, Richard. I'm Julie. I did a short film with a really nice student actually at London Film School a few years ago, and he's doing really well now. Okay. Kobe Adam.
Oh, Kobe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Because, you know, we can do these student things, and then the people we work with, they can go off and be absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. He did. He was one of the directors on Noughts and Crosses.
I know.
Really rather wonderful.
Yeah.
Series last year, and what I'm hoping is he's developing a first feature now, and I think he has a bright future. And we know him.
We know him. We knew him when he was,
yes, everything.
Just a mere lad.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie. Roberta, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello, yes. Yes, thank you. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the Charlie Chaplin scene. It was really fun. So yeah, I'm Roberta Gozzi.
And Italiano.
And I speak Italian as well as English.
She does very well in Italian. Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
The Chaplin film is called The Idol Class. If you want to look it up, maybe it's on YouTube or something. It's called The Idol Class. That's the golden moment from it. But if you want to see the rest of it, it's not so long.
Thank you very much.
Talking of idol class, Bernard, you're next.
Hello, Bernard O'Sullivan. Just say my current project, which actually will be spurred by what you've been sharing this afternoon. I read last year Mark Cousins' The Story of Film. So this year's adventure is to watch every single film he mentions in that. And I'm up to the moment to Charles Lawton and Elsa Lanchester and Alexander Korda. And then I shall launch myself at some point into the 1940s.
Wow, fantastic.
It's wonderful. And all these people I knew the names of. I mean, you know, the Chaplin I'd heard of and I'd seen clips of, but I'd never watched a movie from start to finish. And City Lights is the heartbreaker of all time, I think. It is the most stunning, beautiful film.
Check out A Woman of Paris as well.
I will. I haven't. That's not in the book, so I may take a bit of time.
Not in the book. It is available in the UK.
A lot of these early films, of course, are available on YouTube. You just go and look at them. It's fabulous. The Woman of Paris.
A Woman of Paris. He is in it, but you won't recognize him because he's actually a railway porter. For about 5 seconds, and he just wrote and directed it, but it's a terrific late silent feature film.
One of the ones I really enjoyed of his was an early one, I think, which is Kiddie Races at something, Daytona Beach or something, where he keeps on photobombing the camera at somebody who is trying to film some children's go-kart racing. And he keeps on, and you don't quite know whether it's a film crew that he is actually messing with or whether he is controlling the whole thing and making a joke of. Very, very funny.
Okay, no, thank you, Bernard. We're just in the interest of time because we've got lots, so keep it brief, please, everyone. Jimmy, even though you're drinking a glass, can you drink a glass and introduce yourself at the same time?
Hi, Richard.
Hey.
Thank you so much, man. That was incredible. It was quite hypnotic, actually, just hearing your voice and just watching what you were doing. My favorite film is Jurassic Park, so I was thinking how much I would love to see you dissect that one day. So if you want to do a class on Jurassic Park, you know, go for it.
Well, what will be really key is the organic moments when we see the characters and the dinosaurs in the same frame. You know, that's what every horror film has to have.
Yeah.
You know, rather than intercutting them. And that has plenty.
It has lots of that. Yeah. And they do it so well.
And that was Spielberg, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Spielberg is very good at blocking. Spielberg is very good at master shots. You know, we don't notice because we're just kind of used to it. But you look at something like Jaws or E.T., you know, or Schindler's List, you know, he's very underrated in some ways.
Sorry, got to move on. Thank you, Jimmy. Claire.
Oh, hi. That was brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, Claire Burrows. I used to be a dancer, so watching the Chaplin stuff, I love the physicality and yeah, it was so interesting. And all, as you say, it's quite theatrical, the way it's shot. And I've never really analysed it in such a way. So it was really enlightening. Thanks very much.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, Richard. Mark Brent. Do you know Nicholas Seaton?
Yes.
Have you seen his latest film?
No.
Have a look. They're about to change the title, hopefully. But you might recognize somebody in the film.
Mark's in it.
I won't mention the current title on this Zoom call. Let's put it that way.
Oh, how interesting.
Anyway, lovely to meet you and thank you very much. Really enjoyed today.
Thank you. And thanks for the heads up.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that actually. I'm going to get in trouble. Anyway, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Elizabeth Chapman.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for today. My name is Elizabeth Chapman. I come from very showbiz background, but more recently I landed my straight acting role, my debut in a theatre, and it was lovely. I love to act, just acting, nothing else. It was a great experience. Thank you for today and teaching us more. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Gartside.
It's the Elizabeth. Hello, Richard, again. Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed your talk again. taught me so much. And you've just reminded me, I recently saw West Side Story, which was Spielberg, which actually, if I go back and watch that, I'm sure lots shot in that way of the dance, which was incredible.
I mean, musicals have to have a lot of master shots, so we see the entire spectacle. Very important.
It was if you haven't seen it, the dance is phenomenal.
I haven't quite seen it, but what I hear is it's better than the original.
Well, and I love the original too. Yeah, it's good. It's very, very good.
Thanks for
Thank you so much.
Recommendation.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Janet.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I'm going to look at all these films again, and well, some of them I knew and some of them I didn't, but it was the ones that I did know, I had loved them. You know, the Magnolia. I remember that scene, but I hadn't really thought why it was. No, I liked it or why it was interesting. So to go back to have a look and look up all these films will be really good to start to be a bit more aware, because I think don't think I get terribly involved in things and I don't open up to that awareness, which really helps to, like Daniel said, it's just exciting to, it's sort of freeing when you, I think, it's freeing, I think, as an actor, because it takes your attention, being more aware of the physicality and the being outside of yourself.
Sometimes people say, can't you just go to the movies? And I say, no, that's all that I do, basically. And they say, but you're analyzing this and that, and you're impressed by this and that. And I'm like, no, that just increases the pleasure. You know, it's like, why is this so effective? And yet it's apparently so simple. And how does that enable performances like that? All that kind of thing, you know. So hopefully it won't limit, you know, or contradict the pleasure that you get from it. It actually increases that.
Thank you. And don't forget, Janet, see Owning Mahoney was the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman, directed by Richard. And also might as well have a look at Love and Death on Long Island, which was written and directed by Richard Kwietniowski as well.
I'm sure you can illegally download both very easily.
No, you want to do it legally so he gets his 1p for royalties from it. Joanna.
Hello, my name is Joanna Bodo. Thank you very much for the class. I think as an actress, it was very eye-opening to see what the directors are looking for and what they see. Because obviously as an actress, we do focus much on the performance rather than see what from the director's point of view. And I agree with Daniel. It would be really great to have more classes like that, or maybe like one day class. And I would like to actually have your opinion about film 1917, which looks like it's being shot one go.
Can I suggest you email each other, Joanna, because we haven't got much time, and it could be in one shot of Richard's opinion on 1917. So it could take us. But thank you.
That's a very good title to apply to what I've been talking about. Very, very good indeed.
Yeah, an amazing film, I thought as well.
It really is. I thought I'm going to hate this.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I was so impressed, and I was so in there. And it's very clever because it isn't it appears to be continuous, but it's not. But it's, again, it doesn't ask too much from any camera setup, and all those long things down the trenches. Oh my goodness! But the good thing was I forgot the mechanics. I was just with him, and I was in that trench, and that's what happens. That's what we need to happen.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Tanya.
Have you spoken to Lorna yet?
Lorna's gone. She had to go.
Lorna's had to leave. Yeah.
Bless her. Richard, thank you so much. That was brilliant. And what you said about being able just to say to your actors, just do whatever. Don't worry about, and to have a director, a filmmaker that can actually sort of wind up the actors and let them go, as opposed to, plotting their every single move. to be an actor on that set. Be amazing, absolutely amazing.
That's what's
It
called an
takes a
actor's
bit of
director.
nerve, you know. So a film student is unlikely to go that far, but that's how you get the best from everyone.
It's more of a collaboration, almost, isn't it? Which sounds.
So you're creating context and then seeing, let's have a think about this, and we're all chucking in ideas and stuff, and that's why the block is very important before you sign off on how you're going to shoot the scene.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. We've run over, but hey, I'm sure it's worth it. Richard, once again, phenomenal. Actually, I should stop recording.